There are no accidents in the quantum field. The very fact that these words are reaching you now is evidence that something within you has already shifted. Out of countless videos, countless distractions, and countless possibilities, you found this one, or perhaps more truthfully, it found you. That is not randomness. That is resonance. You don't arrive at messages like this unless your frequency has already begun calling them into your awareness. You are not early. You are not late. You are here at the exact moment you were meant to be. The shift never begins with fireworks or spectacle. It begins with subtle alignment. A nudge here, a whisper there, a moment where something lands in your heart more deeply than your mind can explain. That's what this moment is. You may not yet see the full unfolding, but the fact that you are listening means the unfolding is already in motion. The quantum field works through coherence, and coherence works through attraction. When you start vibrating differently, reality responds by drawing into your path exactly what will confirm your new state of being. This video is one of those confirmations. Most people dismiss these moments. They tell themselves it's just coincidence, just chance, just another piece of content on their screen. But those who shift know better. They know that synchronicity is the field's language and that the universe doesn't waste energy. If it reaches you now, it's because you are ready now. The invitation is simple. Will you lean in, or will you ignore the signal and let the old patterns pull you back? The timing could not be more precise. Think about it. You didn't see this last week, or last year, or 5 years ago. You're seeing it now, in the exact moment when you were ready to hear it. Maybe you've been questioning your path, sensing changes within yourself but not knowing how to interpret them. Maybe you've been noticing strange synchronicities or feeling restless, as if the life you've been living no longer fits. That's because it doesn't. You've already begun to outgrow it. And the field, in its precision, has placed this message here to remind you that the shift is real. The fact that you are here means you are not just thinking about transformation. You are already in it. The choice you face now is whether you will embrace it fully. You don't have to know how the entire journey will unfold. You don't have to force the timing. All you have to do is recognize the truth of where you stand. The shift is already happening, and you are ready for it. And if you feel that resonance stirring inside you, pause and subscribe. This channel exists to guide you deeper into your shift, and I don't want you to miss the next step. The earliest stages of a shift rarely arrive with spectacle. They don't announce themselves with dramatic change or sudden breakthroughs. Instead, they come as a whisper, a soft, almost imperceptible hum at the edge of your awareness, suggesting that something is different, even if you can't yet put it into words. You notice small things, numbers repeating when you glance at the clock, conversations that seem timed too perfectly, ideas that drop into your mind with a clarity you didn't expect. These are not accidents. They are the first signals of alignment. The whisper of alignment is easy to dismiss because it doesn't demand your attention. It invites it. It shows up in quiet patterns, in subtle rearrangements of your reality, nudging you to notice without overwhelming you. You may find yourself thinking of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly they appear in your life again. You may feel pulled to take a different route, only to discover an opportunity waiting along the way. These moments feel small, but they are the building blocks of something much larger. The quantum field is beginning to respond to your shift, laying down the first threads of coherence. What makes this stage so profound is how gentle it is. It doesn't push or force. It simply reflects. Your inner vibration has begun to change, and the outer world mirrors that change in subtle ways. That inner knowing you feel, the sense that something is rearranging, is not your imagination. It is resonance. It is the field beginning to align with who you are becoming rather than who you've been. The whisper asks you to trust, to lean in, even when there is not yet enough evidence for your logical mind to accept. Most people overlook this stage because they are waiting for proof. They want undeniable signs, grand moments, unmistakable shifts. But the truth is, if you cannot hear the whisper, you will never recognize the roar. Alignment always begins quietly, because it is training you to notice, to attune, to recognize the language of synchronicity. It is in these subtle moments that you build the sensitivity to navigate the larger transformations to come. The whisper of alignment is also an invitation to shift how you perceive your life. Instead of dismissing synchronicities as random, you begin to treat them as guidance. Instead of ignoring sudden clarity, you begin to act on it. Instead of silencing the quiet voice within, you begin to listen. The more you respond to these whispers, the louder they become, until eventually they weave together into undeniable confirmation that your reality is changing. So if you've been noticing patterns that don't make sense, if you've been feeling that quiet inner pull, take it seriously. Don't dismiss it as nothing. Don't ignore it because it doesn't come with fireworks. The whisper is the beginning of everything. It is the first ripple of the shift that is already underway, and the more you lean into it, the faster it will grow into the reality you've been waiting to step into. Bast. There comes a moment in every true shift where the things that once felt familiar begin to lose their weight. The routines you clung to for stability, the relationships you invested in for comfort, the ambitions that once gave you drive, all of them begin to feel strangely hollow. You wake up and realize that what used to excite you now feels forced. What used to feel safe now feels heavy. This isn't failure. It isn't loss. It is the dissolving of the old. The vibration you are stepping into can no longer be carried by the patterns of the past. This dissolving often feels unsettling at first. The human mind resists it because it mistakes familiarity for security. When a relationship that once felt supportive now feels suffocating, the mind panics. When a career path you've spent years building suddenly feels meaningless, fear rises. You wonder if something is wrong with you, if you're broken for no longer wanting what you used to chase. But the truth is, nothing is wrong. Everything is right. This is the unraveling of frequencies that no longer serve where you're going. In the quantum field, your frequency determines the reality you live in. As you shift into higher coherence, anything that doesn't resonate with that new vibration begins to fall away. Old patterns dissolve because they cannot survive in the energy you are stepping into. Relationships that were built on fear or scarcity feel like chains. Routines created to keep you small suddenly drain you. Ambitions born from comparison or lack lose all meaning. These aren't signs of failure. They are signs of growth. You are not collapsing. You are expanding. The dissolving of the old is also an invitation to trust. You cannot cling to the past and step into the future at the same time. If you try to hold both, you stay split between two realities. The unease you feel is not punishment. It is the pressure of carrying what no longer belongs. The field is asking you to release, to make space for the reality you've been calling in. Without that release, the new cannot fully arrive. This stage requires courage. It asks you to let go before you see what will replace it. It asks you to walk away from what no longer fits, even when others don't understand. It asks you to honor the truth of your own energy, even when your mind argues that it would be easier to stay where you are. But easier is not alignment, and holding on is not safety, it is delay. The dissolving of the old is not an ending, it is preparation. It is the clearing of the soil before the new can take root. The heaviness you feel is simply the weight of what you've outgrown. The hollow spaces are not emptiness, they are openings. And when you allow the old to dissolve, you create the space for the extraordinary to unfold. This is not loss. It is the first real proof that you are moving forward. There is a stage in every shift where the world feels strangely quiet. The noise of your old ambitions fades, the urgency of your routines loses its grip, and even the emotions that once pulled you in every direction seem to soften. At first, this calm can feel disorienting. You wonder if you've lost momentum, if you've somehow stalled. But what you're experiencing is not stagnation, it is recalibration. The stillness is not emptiness, it is proof that your entire system is adjusting itself to hold the new vibration you have been calling in. Think of it like the moment before a symphony begins. The audience goes silent, the lights dim, and everything grows still. That pause is not wasted time. It is the gathering of energy before the music begins. Your life works the same way. When you enter the strange calm, it is not because nothing is happening. It is because everything is rearranging beneath the surface. aligning itself so that when the next movement begins, it flows in harmony. This recalibration often feels foreign because the mind has been trained to equate progress with constant doing. It wants to see steps, results, evidence. When those things are absent, it panics and tells you that you are stuck. But in the quantum field, stillness is not stuckness. Stillness is the most dynamic state imaginable. It is the space where the old threads of identity loosen, where the static of resistance clears, and where the frequency of your new reality has the room to settle into your being. In this stage, you may feel less interested in things that once consumed you. The conversations that used to energize you might feel flat. The activities that once defined your sense of self may now seem irrelevant. This is not apathy. It is detachment. You are releasing the grip of the old frequency, making space for the coherence of the new one. The strange calm is your nervous system, your energy body, and your subconscious mind learning to stabilize at a higher vibration. It is important in this phase not to mistake silence for absence. Just because life feels quieter does not mean nothing is moving. In fact, this is often the moment when the most profound changes are being orchestrated. It is the unseen work of the field, weaving together synchronicities and opportunities that will reveal themselves once your alignment is complete. The calm also teaches you trust. It asks you to stop searching for external proof and to rest in the knowing that your shift is already unfolding. It asks you to breathe into the stillness instead of scrambling to fill it with distractions. When you can do that, you begin to feel the richness of this stage. You realize the calm is not empty at all. It is full, vibrating with potential, heavy with the weight of everything that is about to emerge. So when the quiet arrives, don't resist it. Don't rush to escape it. Recognize it as sacred space, the recalibration of your entire being. This strange calm is not the end of your journey. It is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. There is a moment in the shift where your emotions no longer move in a predictable rhythm. Instead, they surge, rising and falling with a force that can leave you breathless. One moment, you feel unstoppable hope, as though everything you have asked for is already at your fingertips. The next, doubt sweeps in like a tide, whispering that maybe nothing has changed at all. It is easy to mistake this surge for instability, to believe you are losing balance or slipping backward. But what you are experiencing is not chaos. It is superposition. It is the quantum field showing you multiple possibilities at once and asking you which one you will choose to anchor. In the language of physics, superposition means that more than one outcome exists simultaneously. In the same way, your emotions begin to reflect the presence of overlapping timelines. You feel hope because one version of you has already stepped fully into the new reality. You feel doubt because another version is still tied to the old. Both exist in the field, and your awareness flickers between them, like a light switching from one channel to another. That flicker is not a sign of failure. It is the clearest sign that you are standing at the edge of collapse, the moment when one timeline will solidify and the others will dissolve. This emotional surge is often misinterpreted. People assume that if doubt arises, they must not be aligned. They convince themselves that fear means the shift isn't working. But in truth, the presence of both hope and doubt is evidence that the field is alive around you. If you were truly stuck, you would only feel one reality, the heavy drag of the old. The fact that you can sense the light of the new reality flickering through proves that you are standing in the doorway. The question now is not whether the shift is real. It is which version of yourself you will embody in response to the surge. Every wave of emotion is an invitation to choose. When doubt comes, will you collapse into fear, or will you recognize it as the echo of the old self dissolving? When hope floods your chest, will you lean into it and stabilize, or will you dismiss it as wishful thinking? Each decision becomes a vote, a signal broadcast into the field. The timeline that receives the most consistent signal is the one that will crystallize into your lived reality. The surge can feel overwhelming, but it is not here to break you. It is here to strengthen you. It teaches you to hold your vibration steady even when the winds of fear try to sway you. It trains you to embody coherence not only when you feel certain, but also when you are tested by doubt. And once you can hold that steadiness, the flicker resolves. The emotional waves calm, and the field collapses into the timeline you have chosen. The surge is not instability. It is the power of creation condensed into the most important choice you will ever make. When the field begins to respond to your vibration, it speaks in a language most people overlook. It doesn't shout. It doesn't send flashing billboards to prove you're on the right path. Instead, it arranges your life with such precision that the evidence appears as synchronicity, numbers repeating on the clock, a book falling into your hands at the exact moment you needed its message, a conversation that echoes the very thought you had the night before. To the casual observer, these moments look random, but to the one who is shifting, they are mirrors. They reflect back the coherence you have been cultivating. The mirror of synchronicity is one of the most powerful confirmations that your shift is already in motion. You can't plan these alignments, and you can't force them. They emerge effortlessly when your energy begins to stabilize. They are the field's way of saying, keep going. You're closer than you think. The repetition of numbers like 1111 or 222 is not just aesthetic. It is resonance revealing itself in patterns your awareness can recognize. The open doors that appear, opportunities, invitations, sudden clarity, are not luck. They are the quantum reorganizing itself to match the signal you are sending. The precision of these moments can feel almost unreal. You think of someone and they call you. You dream of a place, and the next day see it everywhere. You wrestle with a decision only to overhear a stranger giving the exact answer you needed. These alignments bypass logic because they are not logical. They are vibrational. They reveal how deeply interconnected everything truly is, and they confirm that your personal shift is woven into the fabric of the universe itself. But synchronicities are more than proof. They are invitations. Each one is a doorway asking you to step deeper into trust. You can dismiss them, call them coincidence, and move on. Or you can treat them as the field's encouragement, a nudge to keep walking in alignment with the new timeline. The choice is always yours. Those who shift most powerfully are not the ones who wait for massive signs, but the ones who honor the subtle ones. Because when you honor them, you magnify them. The more you notice, the more they multiply, until the flow becomes undeniable. These mirrors also remind you that you are not walking alone. The same intelligence that arranges galaxies is arranging your path. When you see those repeating numbers, when doors open at just the right moment, when words you needed to hear arrive in perfect timing, you are witnessing the field in motion. It is proof that your frequency is no longer scattered. It is aligning, and reality is rearranging itself to confirm that alignment. So when the signs multiply, don't ignore them. Don't brush them off as nothing. Pause, acknowledge them. Let them remind you that your shift is already alive. These synchronicities are not random events. They are mirrors of resonance, invitations from the universe to trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. As you begin to step fully into alignment, the path does not always stay smooth. In fact, just when things seem to be shifting beautifully, old shadows often return. Fear resurfaces, whispering its familiar warnings. Scarcity creeps back in, urging you to cling tightly, to protect what little you believe you have. The need for control rises again, convincing you that unless you manage every detail, everything will fall apart. These moments can feel discouraging, as if you are slipping backward. But they are not setbacks. They are the final echoes of the old self, surfacing one last time to test whether you will respond as the identity you are leaving behind, or the one you are becoming. Think of it like a system reboot. When a computer is updated, old files and outdated programs sometimes flash on the screen before disappearing for good. In the same way, your consciousness pulls up these familiar patterns so you can decide once and for all if you will carry them forward. They are not here to trap you. They are here to give you the chance to respond differently, to choose coherence instead of collapse, to anchor the vibration of the new reality you've been calling in. Fear may tell you that the opportunities opening around you are too good to be true, that you're not ready, that you will fail. In the past, you may have listened, shrinking your energy to fit within the limits fear created. But now you know fear is only the echo of a frequency you've already outgrown. Scarcity may convince you to cling, to doubt, to question whether abundance can really be yours. In the past, you may have panicked and scrambled, but now you can breathe, remembering that scarcity was never the truth, only a reflection of misalignment. Control may seduce you into over-planning, micromanaging, and tightening your grip. In the past, this gave you an illusion of safety, but now you can see that control creates static, while surrender creates flow. The return of old shadows is the field's way of asking, will you step into the new timeline or retreat to the old one? It is not a punishment. It is an invitation. Every time you respond from the identity of who you are becoming, you weaken the old pattern until it dissolves entirely. Each new response is a declaration to the universe. I am no longer this. I am that. And the field mirrors back your choice with exact precision. So when fear rises, when scarcity knocks, when control tempts you, recognize them for what they are. Shadows, not truths. Echoes, not obstacles. They are here to remind you how far you've come and to give you the chance to solidify your shift. And if you feel this moment speaking to you, pause and leave a comment. What do you most want to manifest? Declaring it is a signal to the field that you are ready to receive. There comes a stage in the shift where the question, when will it happen, no longer makes sense. You stop refreshing the clock of your life, stop measuring your progress against days, weeks, or years. You begin to see that time was never the gatekeeper to your desires. The quantum field does not operate in hours or calendars. It responds to vibration in the present moment. The more you align with the energy of the version of you who already has what you seek, the less relevance waiting has. Waiting belongs to the old paradigm. It is rooted in the belief that your dreams live somewhere out ahead of you, separated by a long road of effort and time. In that mindset, you are always chasing, always striving, always postponing your fulfillment. But when you enter coherence, you realize that the life you desire is not far away. It is here now, existing in the field as a fully formed possibility. The only distance between you and it is the gap created by your belief that you must wait. The collapse of waiting happens the moment you stop treating the future as the container for your dreams and start embodying them in the present. Instead of asking, when will abundance arrive, you begin to live as if abundance is already your state of being. Instead of asking, when will love find me, you begin to embody the energy of someone who is already loved. Instead of waiting for peace, you become peace. And when you shift into that state, the field mirrors it immediately. It has no choice, because resonance is law. This collapse can feel strange at first. You may notice yourself losing interest in asking about timelines or outcomes. You stop looking for signs with desperation and start recognizing them with calm certainty. You stop counting the days and start noticing the alignment. What once felt like anticipation transforms into presence. You realize that the waiting game was only ever a way of distracting yourself from your own power. This is not to say that everything arrives in the exact moment you imagine it, but the sense of delay dissolves because you no longer believe you are separate from what you desire. You live as though it is already here, and that shifts everything. Doors open more quickly, synchronicities multiply. The field reorganizes with precision to reflect your vibration, because you have stopped pushing your manifestation into a future that doesn't exist. You are living it now. The collapse of waiting is liberation. It is the moment you stop carrying the weight of someday and step into the lightness of already. It is the moment you realize that time was never holding your desires hostage. It was only your attachment to time that kept them out of reach. When you let that go, you discover the truth. The field doesn't mirror the future. It mirrors the present. And the present is the only place where your shift has ever been real. The first signs of arrival rarely look like the grand spectacle you once imagined. There is no lightning strike, no sudden explosion of proof that everything has changed. Instead, it begins quietly, so quietly that you almost miss it. A conversation flows with an ease that used to feel impossible. An opportunity arrives at the perfect moment without you forcing it into existence. A door that once seemed sealed shut opens so naturally that you wonder why you ever thought it was locked. These are the first glimpses of arrival, the subtle yet undeniable signs that you are already standing inside the reality that once felt so far away. The beauty of this stage is its simplicity. You begin to notice how resistance, the tension that used to dominate your every thought, has dissolved. The struggle that once defined your days is no longer there. Instead, life begins to flow with a rhythm that feels effortless. Decisions become clearer. Connections feel more aligned. What used to require heavy effort now seems to arrange itself with uncanny precision. This is not coincidence. It is coherence. The field is reorganizing around your stabilized vibration, reflecting back the truth of the frequency you have anchored. At first, your mind might try to dismiss it. It may whisper that these little shifts don't really matter, that they are too small to mean anything. But look closer. These subtle changes are the clearest proof that the shift is real. They show that the field is no longer resisting you, because you are no longer resisting yourself. You've released the weight of waiting, the grip of control, and the static of doubt. What fills the space now is flow, and flow is always the first evidence of alignment. The glimpses also remind you of how far you've come. Not long ago, you may have been consumed by questions. When will it happen? How will it happen? What if it never does? Now those questions don't seem as loud. Instead of living in constant anticipation, you find yourself realizing, I'm already here. The dream that once felt distant no longer feels like a dream at all. It feels like reality, because it is. This stage is gentle but powerful. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't overwhelm, it reassures. And that reassurance is everything, because it shows you that you no longer need to chase or force. You are living in resonance, and resonance naturally attracts. The opportunities that show up, the synchronicities that multiply, the ease that replaces effort, all of it is proof that you've begun to inhabit the timeline you once only imagined. The first glimpses of arrival are sacred because they teach you trust. They show you that you don't need drama to confirm your shift. You don't need spectacle to prove your power. You only need to recognize the flow and allow it to grow. And as you lean into this quiet unfolding, you realize the truth. You are no longer waiting for your reality to arrive. You are already living inside it. When the shift begins to accelerate, it can feel like life is moving faster than you can process. Opportunities appear all at once, relationships transform, and situations that used to feel stuck suddenly unravel in days or even hours. At first, this can feel exhilarating, but it can also feel overwhelming. Your nervous system, conditioned for the slower pace of scarcity and struggle, is suddenly asked to hold abundance, love, and clarity at a magnitude it has never experienced before. This is why integration is key. Without grounding, the very acceleration you called in can feel destabilizing, pulling you back into old patterns of fear or control. Expansion is not only about receiving more, it is about learning how to hold more without collapse. Imagine pouring water into a small cup. It quickly overflows, not because the water was wrong, but because the container was too small. In the same way, the abundance arriving into your life requires you to expand your inner container. That expansion begins with presence. When you ground yourself in the present moment, you teach your nervous system that it is safe to hold more, safe to experience joy without fear it will disappear, safe to let love in without sabotaging it, safe to receive opportunities without shrinking back. This stage of the shift is where many people falter. They pray for change, they call in new timelines, but when the flood of alignment begins, their system interprets it as threat instead of gift. Doubt rises. Fear of losing what they've gained creeps in. The impulse to control or to slow things down can take over. But these responses are not truth. They are echoes of the old self, trying to protect you from what feels unfamiliar. Expansion is about teaching your system to see the unfamiliar not as danger, but as the new normal. Grounding practices are powerful here. Breathing deeply, resting in stillness, moving your body, or simply noticing what is here without rushing to the next moment. All of these stabilize your energy. They reassure your nervous system that abundance is not a storm to survive, but a current to flow with. The more you practice this, the more your inner container grows, and the more naturally you can hold the acceleration without fear of collapse. As your capacity expands, you stop questioning whether you deserve what's arriving. You stop bracing for it to vanish. You begin to live in ease, knowing that what flows to you can stay with you because you are stable enough to receive it fully. This is how acceleration transforms from overwhelm into empowerment. It is not about slowing down the flow. It is about learning to ride it with trust. And if this message resonates, share this video with someone you care about. Your ripple could be the signal they've been waiting for to step into their own shift. There is a point in the journey where you realize that what once felt like a miracle has become part of your daily life. The extraordinary no longer feels out of reach. It no longer feels like something you have to chase or grasp for. Instead, it feels natural, as though it was always meant to be this way. This is the stage of the new normal, the confirmation that your shift is not temporary or fragile, but a settled state of being. At first, this realization can feel almost strange. You look back at the person you were before, the one who begged for signs, who questioned every step, who wondered if the field was even listening. That version of you seems distant, almost unrecognizable. You wonder how you ever doubted, how you ever thought the life you desired was impossible. Now you wake up and the flow is your baseline. Abundance shows up in ways that surprise you, but not in ways that shock you. Love feels steady rather than fleeting. Clarity feels like your default state rather than a gift that comes and goes. The new normal is subtle in its power. It doesn't arrive with spectacle, but with a quiet certainty. You find yourself no longer searching for signs, because the evidence surrounds you in every detail of your life. The synchronicities that once left you breathless now feel like everyday guidance. The opportunities that used to feel rare now appear regularly, weaving into your routine like threads in a tapestry. The shift has rooted itself so deeply into your identity that you no longer question it. You no longer perform rituals to prove it is real. You simply live it, and life responds in kind. This stage is also liberating because it dissolves the fear of loss. In earlier stages, you may have worried that your manifestations were fragile, that they could slip away if you didn't hold on tightly enough. But in the new normal, you understand that what you have is not an external prize to be taken. It is an internal state of coherence. Because it lives within you, it cannot be stolen. You carry it everywhere you go, and the field mirrors it back to you with unwavering consistency. The new normal also reshapes how you see challenges. Difficulties may still arise, but you no longer interpret them as proof that you are failing. Instead, you meet them from stability, knowing they are simply part of the flow of growth. You hold your alignment without struggle, and that steadiness transforms obstacles into stepping stones. What once would have shaken you now feels like an invitation to deepen your trust. When the extraordinary becomes ordinary, you know the shift has completed its integration. You are no longer standing at the edge of your new timeline. You are fully living inside it. And the beauty of this stage is how effortless it feels. You are no longer performing alignment. You are alignment. You are no longer practicing coherence. You are coherence. This is not a temporary glimpse. This is who you are now. There comes a point in the shift where you stop looking outward for confirmation. You stop scanning your environment for repeating numbers, waiting for perfect coincidences, or asking the universe to prove itself with signs. You no longer need them because you have become the sign. Your very energy is the signal, radiating coherence so clearly that the field has no choice but to organize itself around you. The search ends because the mirror is within you, and reality reflects what you have already stabilized. At this stage, your presence carries a weight that others can feel even if they cannot explain it. People are drawn to you, not because of what you say or do, but because of the frequency you embody. You've shifted from chasing alignment to living as alignment, and that subtle difference changes everything. You are no longer a seeker of resonance. You are resonance itself. And when you walk into a room, reality adjusts to meet you at the frequency you broadcast. Becoming the signal is not about perfection. It does not mean you never feel fear or doubt again. It means those emotions no longer define your state. They may arise, but they pass quickly because your baseline is coherence. You don't need to wrestle with them or prove to yourself that you are still on track. You simply allow them to move through while remaining anchored in who you know yourself to be. This is the essence of embodiment. When you live as the signal, the field responds with effortless precision. Opportunities align themselves without struggle. Conversations unfold with uncanny timing. Doors open before you knock. What once required hours of visualizing, scripting, or chasing now happens naturally because your vibration no longer wavers. You've stopped asking the universe to send signs because you finally see that you are the one broadcasting the message. And the broadcast is constant. It never shuts off because it is not something you do. It is who you are. This stage also frees you from the need for external validation. You don't look for proof that your manifestation is close because you know it is already here. You don't ask others for reassurance because their perspective no longer determines your reality. The signal is self-sustaining. It flows from within, and the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. This is where manifestation ceases to feel like a practice and begins to feel like life itself. Becoming the signal is the ultimate arrival, not because you finally gained what you wanted, but because you finally became the version of yourself who no longer doubts that it was yours all along. The need to chase, to force, to demand proof dissolves. All that remains is clarity, presence, and trust. And when you live in that state, the field bends effortlessly to your frequency. You don't follow the signs anymore. You are the sign. There comes a moment when everything you've been sensing, everything you've been aligning with, stops being an idea and becomes your lived reality. The questions fade, the searching quiets, the constant wondering of whether you are doing it right dissolves, because you recognize that the shift is no longer something you are waiting for. It is already here. You have stepped into it, and it has become the ground you now stand on. This is the declaration of readiness, the point where you no longer hope or ask, but claim. Up until now, the process may have felt like preparation. You noticed the whispers, you experienced the dissolving of the old, you walked through the surges of emotion and the mirrors of synchronicity. You faced the return of old shadows and chose differently this time. You grounded yourself through acceleration, expanded your nervous system to hold more, and eventually allowed the extraordinary to settle into the ordinary. All of that has led to this moment, a moment of profound simplicity. The choice to say, I am ready. Readiness is not about knowing every detail of what comes next. It is not about having every question answered or every path mapped out. Readiness is about trust. It is about declaring to yourself and to the field that you are no longer holding back, no longer waiting for a perfect sign, no longer needing the universe to prove itself. You are stepping fully into the identity of the one who already lives the reality you've been calling in. That is the final piece. That is the lock clicking into place. When you make this declaration, something inside you solidifies. You stop carrying the old doubts like baggage. You stop rehearsing the story of lack or struggle. You release the grip of hesitation, and in its place comes certainty. Not a loud or frantic certainty, but a calm one, the kind that feels unshakable. The field mirrors that certainty immediately. Opportunities flow without resistance. Alignment deepens. Life reflects your coherence with precision because you are no longer sending mixed signals. You are broadcasting one clear truth. You are ready. This readiness also signals completion, not the end of growth, not the end of evolution, but the end of waiting to become who you already are. It is the integration of everything you've practiced, everything you've trusted, everything you've allowed. It is the recognition that the shift was never about chasing something outside of you. It was about becoming the one who could claim it from within. And if you feel this landing in your journey, anchor it now by leaving a comment. I am ready to shift. Let it be your declaration, your signal to the universe that the transformation is complete. In writing those words, you step into resonance with the timeline that has always been waiting for you. This is not a hope. It is not a possibility. It is a reality you are now fully inhabiting.